YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today, guys, we'll be doing the TENPAI showcase. Now, I won't waste any more of your time. Let's go directly to the core deck list and then the Master Duel deck list. Alright, so this is quick and easy. We already tackled this one way back when TENPAI was in the TCG and they didn't nerf the third copy of Sangen Summoning in the OCG. So, what does this deck do is basically a good go second deck that revolves around synchro summoning during the battle phase, and it is kind of good because you are going to bound to deal more than 30,000 damage during a battle phase, which is pretty insane. So the archetype effect for the level 3s and level 4s is basically synchro summoning during the battle phase, except for the new Genruko card from the Infinite Forbidden. This card is just basically add spell summon, and then you can spell summon one other TENPAI monster from your deck once you activate it. It's a pretty good effect though, but you basically need like only a couple of this card in your main deck. So let's go first with the card by card. First of all, we have a copy of TENPAI Dragon Chundra. So like I said, you can synchro summon during the battle phase. If you control a fire dragon monster, you can spell summon this card from your hand. At the start of the damage step, if a monster battles, you can spell summon one level 4 or lower fire dragon monster from your deck. Pretty good effect. Also, a 1-card starter for your combo during the battle phase. Next up, we have a copy of Paidra. Basically, 3 copies. This is one of your bread and butter card for your combos. If this card is normal or spell summon, you can add to your hand or set one Sangen spell or trap card from your deck. With regards to the number of copies, we'll talk about them after the main deck cards. Next up, we have a copy of TENPAI Dragon Fadra. If this card is normal or spell summoned, at the start of the damage step, if a monster battles, you can target one level 4 or lower fire dragon monster in your graveyard, special summon it. A basic monster reborn for this effect. And you can sync summon during the battle phase. Another good effect for this with the Fadra and the Paidra. Fadra is your fire dragon monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. Paidra, it has an effect where you take no battle damage that involves your fire dragon monster. So with these two monsters here, you can have them on the field and you take no battle damage whatsoever. And then we have a copy of the new TENPAI Dragon Genruko from the Infinite Forbidden. If this card is added to your hand, except by drawing, you can spell summon it as a tuner. Then you can level modulate. You can tribute this card, spell summon one TENPAI Dragon from your deck, except Genruko. Also, you can spell summon for the rest of the turn, except Dragon Monster. And then we have the Sangen Kaimen. Apply one of these effects, but if you activated it during the battle phase, you can activate the effects in sequence. So, add a 1 level 4 or lower fire dragon monster from your deck to your hand, and then spell summon one fire dragon monster from your hands. Next up, we have the Sangen Summoning, which is the customized card for the TENPAIs. So during the main phase 1, fire dragon monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's card effects. During the main phase, you can add one TENPAI dragon monster from your deck to your hand, then discard one card. Then lastly, if this card is destroyed, you can target one dragon synchro monster you control, double its attacks. So it's a pretty good searcher, it's a pretty good protection, and it's a pretty good game ender. Then lastly, we have a copy of Sangen Kaiho, which during the main phase, if all monsters you control are fire dragon monsters, minimum of 1, and your opponent controls more monsters than you do, and the main phase, if 3 or more attacks have been declared this turn, you can banish this card from your graveyard, draw 1 card, then you can spell summon any number of TENPAI Dragon monsters from your hand. Now, with regards to the number of copies, Chundra Paidra is on 3 copies because they are basically your bread and butter combo. Mainly Paidra just to get a copy of the Sangen spell and trap card. Fadra, 1 to 2 copies basically, but I do prefer going with 2 copies. With a copy of Genruko, 1 to 2 copies as well. Add this one with a copy of Sangen Summoning, you can spell summon it as well as a tuner. So a pretty good effect, and you can still use the effect of tributing this card to spell summon another TENPAI Dragon Monster from your deck. So other targets would be the other 3 TENPAI Dragon Monsters. 3 copies of Kaimen and 3 copies of Sangen Summoning. And lastly, a copy of Sangen Kaiho, which is a pretty good 0 to 1 copy, depending on your build. I do prefer going with 1 if you are forced to go first. At least that would be a pretty good card. There is one more card that hasn't been added in the TCG yet, which is the new Sangen Foro. Once per turn, when a monster is destroyed by battle involving a fire dragon monster, you can target one of those destroyed monsters, spell summon it. During the end phase, you can pay 1000 life points and target one Sangen spell or trap card in your graveyard, set it. For the extra deck, we have only 2 and 2s, or 2 copies for each. So the Transcendent Dragon is all monsters you control must attack. If able, your opponent cannot activate card effects during the battle phase if this card is on the field. Pretty good effect. If this card is synchro summoned, you can change all attack You can change all monsters on the field to attack position. If 3 or more attacks have been declared this turn, quick effect, you can spell summon this card from your graveyard. Then you can destroy 1 card in the field, so additional cards that can pop. And this is not a targeted effect, so a pretty good effect. Then lastly, our level 7 Tenpai monster. If this card is synchro summoned, you can target 1 fire dragon monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except dragon monsters. If 3 or more attacks have been declared this turn, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. Then destroy 1 spell or trap card on the field. There is one more monster that isn't a Tenpai, but it is, like I said earlier, that underrated and underused before, but once Tenpai was announced, this card was pretty good for an effect, or for really good for the Tenpais. So must be synchro summoned. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target up to 2 cards you control, destroy those cards. For each destroyed card, this card gains 1 additional attack. So basically, if you destroy the field spell plus another card, this can make 2 other attacks. So with that is our core deck list. Let's move on with our Master Duel deck list. Okay, so for our Master Duel deck list, we have here the Tenpai deck. So my build is a mixture of hand traps and a mixture of board breakers. Typical maxi, Ash Blossoms, Veilers, and a copy of Snow Rabbit. I do think that once Tenpai is going to be released in the game, I think I'm going to add the 3rd copy of Snow Rabbit here and just remove a copy of Veiler. Typically, this works perfectly well if they're going to activate the field spell. It really helps quite a lot. We're only running with 1 copy of Genruku here. 3 maxis are board breakers, Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storms, Pot of Prosperity for increasing our consistency in gaining access to our Sangan summoning, 1 Regeki, 2 copies of Triple Tactics, the typical stuff, and then also a Forbidden Droplet just to help out in board breaking. For our side deck, I'm just putting those cards that might be really useful for the deck. So the copy of Shifter, the copy of Dora Dora. This is also a 1-card starter for your Paija. So you normal summon this, and this is also a Dragon and Fire monster, by the way. If you have the Sangan summoning, this actually works well as well. So if this card is normal summon, you can add 1 level 4 or lower Fire Dragon monster to your deck, to your hand. And also, once per turn, you can excavate the top of your deck. If you have a Fire Dragon sent into the graveyard, this gains attack. Now, if you drop a copy of Tenpais and you get a copy of Faja, you can just monster reborn that monster and still go on with a combo. So the added 1 level 4 or lower Fire Dragon monster, you go for a copy of Genruku, spell summon the Genruku, use the effect, spell summon the Paija, and so on and so forth. To still go with a copy of Sangan summoning, go for an LTK. 3 copies of Drill and Lockbirds. It's basically you have a ton of searchers for this or ads, so a pretty good effect. If you're forced to go first, I do think having a copy of Heatwave might be a good choice for this. And a copy of Cosmic Cyclone just to remove the copy of Sangan summoning. Now understand, the monsters doesn't really do well if they don't have any protection during the main phase 1. So if you stop the copy of the Sangan summoning from ever getting or ever hitting the field, you are bound to win that game. Just stop the copy of Paija if so, because the only thing protecting Paija is a copy of Sangan summoning. So have that removed with a copy of Cosmic Cyclone. It's up to you. Then lastly, we are siding a copy of Sangan Kaiho if ever that would be the case. You can remove 1 of the Lightning Storms if you want. Honestly, it is still perfectly good with this lineup alone. Extra deck, 1 Baron, 2 copies of Transcendent, 1 Trident, 2 copies of Bident, 1 copy of Meteor Burst, Black Rose, 1 copy of Typhon, 1 copy of our Promethean Princess, the Charmer, the Little Knight, the copy of Masquerina. I do think that you can set up a Masquerina on turn 1 if ever you're forced to go first. And lastly, a copy of Heretic Seal, because these are all dragon monsters. So that is our Master Duel deck list. Let's move on with our short combos with the deck. Okay, so for our combos, there ain't much. I do think that you can just do Dora, Chundra, and Paija as a 1-card starter, and mainly Sangan summoning. So let's start off with Sangan summoning first. As a quick preview on what this deck can do, all you need is 1 discard. So here you activate Sangan summoning, discard 1, get a copy of Paija, normal summon Paija, and get a copy of Kaimen, and then we go directly to battle phase once we get a copy of Kaimen here. So like I said, everything it works well if you're gonna activate them during the battle phase. You activate Kaimen, search 1 card, and then spell summon. Go for battle for the Chundra, spell summon the Genruku, or a copy of Fadra. It's up to you. Basically, it's typically the same. I do prefer going with Genruko. Use the effect, spell summon the Fadra, and Fadra will spell summon a copy of Genruko to the field. You sync up, you know, increase more attack, and since they can't be destroyed or you take no battle damage, you just add more attack to the lineup to have the effects of your TENPAI monsters on the field. So that's pretty good. That is an OTK, and you can go beyond 30,000 attack or 30,000 damage during the turn. So that's our Sangen summoning. Let's check out the other ones. So the typical one that I said earlier, or the bread and butter card, is basically Pydra. Pydra go into copy of Kaimen, battle phase, activate the Kaimen, same thing. So it's basically just summoning them during the battle phase or board wiping them and then going for the battle phase. The thing about this deck is you have a ton of room for non-engines and a ton of board breakers. I do think some people, like one of my subscribers, doesn't really like to add board breakers, but just add hand traps. You can work with hand traps as well. It's up to you, and you can also work with board breakers. It's up to you. So that is just the Pydra. Chundra as well. It's also a one-card starter to your OTK. And lastly, we'll talk about the one card, the Dora's effect as well. So there we go. We'll go for battle phase, spell summon the Pydra, go for Kaimen. Kaimen will be activated. So it's just basically going for battle phase as long as you know what cards to use and what cards to activate. So your level 4 and your level 3s are basically your fodders for synchro summoning. So that's it. Or mostly level 4s. The Genruko can be changed into a tuner if you spell summon from the hand. Either way, so that is it. And lastly, we're gonna do for the Dora. So like I said earlier, Dora is a good searcher for your card as well. Dora, search out a copy of Genruko. Genruko spell summoned. There we go, and go for Pydra. Tribute that one. And get a copy of Kaimen, and then go for battle phase. So same thing. Nothing too fancy with this deck, to be honest. The only downside for this deck is you don't really have good end boards if ever you're forced to go first. But typically, having a copy of Pydra and a copy of Fadra during the first turn, it's not half bad as long as you shield up. It's not really like half bad because your monsters can't be destroyed by battle and they can't be destroyed, and you take no battle damage as well. So yeah, I think Yubel won't have a pretty good hand towards your deck. So I think that's basically it. A pretty good TENPAI showcase with some minor replays as well. There is one go first or turn 1 build as well that you can do, but it usually goes into a copy of Zolken and a copy of Crystal Wing, plus or maybe a copy of Heretic Seal. So it's either one of those. But anyways, just having to bulk up with a copy of Pydra and a copy of Fadra is more than enough. But anyways, that is our showcase for today. What are your thoughts on the new TENPAIs? We'll be showcasing Ritual Beasts and Goblin Riders in the couple of days from now. Keep safe, good luck. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.